Welcome to Midweek Experiments in Faithfulness. As most of you know, this is a weekly facilitated spiritual practice with a Quaker flavor and an experimental ethos. My name is Lahari, and I'm a program fellow here at Beacon Hill Friends House, which is a Quaker Center for Learning and Action and a residential community of about 20 people who live according to Quaker values. Tonight, I have the pleasure of introducing Judah Leblang with the practice Places in the Heart, using writing to connect with our roots. This midweek is a short writing exercise focused on place/setting and the worlds we come from. Through writing and discussion, we'll explore the places that formed us, that fed our hearts and our minds. Now I'm excited to introduce you to Judah. Judah Leblang is a BHFH resident and alum, and that's Beacon Hill Friends House, resident and alum, a writer, teacher, and a storyteller. He's written 2 memoirs, and he'll be performing his one-man show, The Expiration Date, at Beacon Hill Friends House in April. More of his work is on his website, judahleblang.com. Judah, it's all yours.
I've been a teacher of various types over the last 40 years or so. And, in teaching, they always say, tell them what you're going to tell them, and then tell them what you told them. So I want to give you just a sense of what we're going to be doing over the next 50 minutes or so. Basically, I wanted to look at I'm not really a poet, although sometimes I write in verse, but this is a poem that I came across in a course that I took last fall on something called a mosaic memoir. So it's kind of on like hybrid memoir, hybrid nonfiction, where you're mixing maybe poetry and prose and short pieces and breaking a lot of the rules. And the focus of this poem by a writer named George Lyon is really about, it's about the place and identity, the people we come from, the places we come from. And, I think it was a Southern writer, Flannery O'Connor, who said that basically anybody who survived childhood has enough material to write about for a lifetime. And if you come from a family that was maybe a little dysfunctional, like mine, actually now I can look and say, well, my family gave me lots of material. So this is really meant to be kind of a jumping off point for an exercise. I thought we could read the poem together and then use it again as a way of writing about our own past, our own the ground that we come from, the people we come from. There's lots of different ways you can go with something like this, and it doesn't necessarily have to be in a poetry format. It could be written in paragraphs. It could be written in prose, whatever works. But I thought this is an interesting way of jumping into the exercise, I think. So I'm gonna read it out loud, and then I thought maybe we could just check in briefly and talk about what you think's going on in this poem, and then we'll jump into a little writing exercise. So again, this is called Where I'm From by George Lyon. I'm from clothespins, from Clorox and carbon tetrachloride. I'm from the dirt under the back porch, black, glistening, and tasted like beets. I'm from the forsythia bush, the Dutch elm, whose long gone limbs I remember as if they were my own. I'm from fudge and eyeglasses, from Imogene and Alifair. I'm from the know-it-alls and pass-it-ons, from perk up and pipe down. I'm from he restores my soul with a cotton ball lamb and 10 verses I can say myself. I'm from Artemis and Billy's Branch, fried corn and strong coffee, from the finger my grandfather lost to the auger, the eye my father shut to keep his sight. Under my bed was a dress box spilling old pictures, a sift of lost faces to drift beneath my dreams. I am from those moments, snapped before I budded, leaf fall from the family tree. So you can raise your actual hand, your virtual hand, but I'd love to hear what you're picking up. We get kind of the rural feeling. There's possibly in the South. Again, somebody told me that I think it was Kentucky, so that would work. And there's also the, I think the grandfather lost a finger to the auger. So we get that sense of the danger and somebody, who's working the land, and then there's the interesting line, the father who kept one eye shut. So is that metaphorical, or is that, my sense is that seemed to me like symbolic or metaphorical, that not that he necessarily lost his physical eye, but that, what was going on in the family that he chose not to see. So, we get the idea of family secrets, and there's also the messages that a kid might get, perk up and pipe down. Uh, as I think Julie, you mentioned the thing about the Sunday school and the Bible verses that they could say themselves, and things like that. So there's a lot of, we get a taste of this culture, connected to the land, hard work, maybe some danger, family secrets, something about the region, the area that they come from, and all these things. So for me, this idea of where I'm from is very rich, because I feel like, I don't know about you all, but my feeling is I carry multiple identities. And one of the identities that I carry is I'm originally, you might hear it in my accent, that I'm originally from Cleveland, from the Great Lakes. And even though I've lived in New England for 35 years, I still feel this visceral connection when I go back there. And I think it influences the way I speak, the way I write, the way I see the world. And again, there's a lot of material there for me. What I want to, as we go into this exercise, I'd like you to think about where do you come from? Like, where do you identify? Maybe where you grew up, maybe where you were born, it may be some place you've chosen to live. But how do you carry that place within you? It might be a connection to the land. It might be a connection to specific people in a place. It might be the family history. It might be a particular house. Place can mean different things. Sometimes it's more like, what's the setting? It might be, say, a church or a temple or a Quaker meeting, a place that was very resonant for you. Or it could be a neighborhood, the street you grew up on. You can take this in many different directions. The idea is to think about the people and the places that you come from and see what images come. And just basically, the idea is to then do kind of a free write and just see what comes. I kind of want to get a sense of the group. Would it be helpful to see another example? Yeah, so I guess what I'm suggesting is we take about 15 minutes and you start with where I'm from. And one way to do it is to kind of just take one little idea at a time. So this is just the beginning of the way I riffed off of it, okay? And just to give you a little background, my dad was an electrical engineer, okay? I never really understood what he did because I'm not very technical, but he was an electrical engineer. So this is how I started. I am from electrical circuits, high voltage lines. My father, the engineer, and his father, Armin Edward, a man I never knew, custodian, immigrant, World War I vet on the losing Austro-Hungarian side. My grandfather fought in the Austro-Hungarian army before he came over to the US. I am from potions, compounds, mortar and pestle. My grandfather, Ben, and the red-haired daughter he fathered, Papa Ben we called him, clouded in smoke from his camel filters and the scent of the nearby steel mills and the workers who trickled in for their Polish newspapers, candy bars, and cigarettes. My grandfather was a pharmacist. I am from 4 bedrooms, living room and den, kitchen cupboards full of syrups, ointments, pills organized by my mother, druggist's daughter, housewife, whirlwind trapped within 4 walls. The house, bright white like the scratch pads on her Formica desk, daily lists, chores to do and then done, another day, another list, and then another. I am from hearing aids and hearing loss, the flat, deaf speech of my Uncle Jerry, Papa Ben's only son, his vowels muffled, skittering around like marbles, and the quavery, hard-of-hearing voice of Papa's wife, my grandmother Nanny Faye, weak, delicate, her mouth downturned from Bell's palsy, face framed by bulky bell-tone hearing aids. Okay, it goes on from there. I write a little bit about Cleveland, the city where I grew up in the suburbs of this city, and I have a lot of love for that place, even though it was, you know, kind of on its way down when I was growing up, and very famous because the river caught fire. But there's a lot of beauty there if you know where to look. So the idea here is to kind of unpack the people we come from, the place we come from, where do we have connections, what do we feel connected to, and to use those images and to see what happens. You don't have to know where it's going. The idea is just to like see what happens. And I just keep coming back to I am from, I am from, I am from. I'm guessing that you all are from somewhere. Let's say 15 minutes to just, and just give yourself permission to play with this. This isn't about finished pieces. This is about, you know, playing in the sandbox. And just see what comes. Just start with that line, I am from, I am from, I am from, and see what images come. Just see what happens. Remember to breathe.